Hey, how you doing? I'd like to welcome you all to a new City Skylines series. I got a bit sick of Micropolis. I'll still make episodes if there's a want, but, um, let's just put it this way. Building in one tile can only serve so many episodes. But anyways, I'm here building a new city, and I've called it La Cerise. It's gonna be the ultimate Euro city. And so I thought, what better map to start than the Windy Fjords map, which I've always wanted to try, and I always thought it looked really cool. And so here's where I'm starting for this one. And so I'm getting the initial road layout for this kind of small part of town. I'm thinking this is going to be just like our starter village. Nothing too big. It may expand to be like the center of the metropolis. It could just remain a small town. Who knows? At this point, I'm trying to experiment with a square, but I realized it just kind of looked ugly when I did that, so I just decided to continue with the main avenue as it was previously. And I thought the roundabout looked nice in a European style. I decided to use a fair amount of alleys. As you can see, well, not quite yet, but I'm about to use a bunch of alleys. With my zoning, I tried to be more deliberate than I usually am. Usually I just kind of zone willy-nilly, and I was like, you know what? In the ultimate Euro city, it wouldn't really be as deliberate as American zoning, but hey, I want it to look how I want it to look. I thought I'd start off with some wind power too because, we can be a green city, right? What I thought was interesting when I started building was that there were these high rent complaints before people even moved in. But I think it was just because I was just like really slow to zone. That's going to happen. That's going to happen. And I really wanted to take my time with this city. When I'm playing this game, sometimes I just get too freaking excited. I just freaking I go crazy. I go insane. And I'm like, I'm going to zone every demand. And I feel like that's, it's one way to play, but it's not always the best. Although, it looks like I did fall to that a little bit with this little industrial area, which looks a bit sloppy. But it'll be a temporary thing, I think. So I'm trying to make this area kind of like a small town vibe. Trying to make the houses as close together as possible, and still giving it a quaint energy. And it's at this point I'm looking at the waterfront and thinking, I want to do something here. So I actually decided to clear out all this area and flatten it. And I am going to build a crazy canal system. Well, it's actually not crazy. It's just the beginning of one. It could expand in the future. And so I thought the first thing I had to do was to flatten out all the land. And then I drew kind of preliminary shapes of how I wanted things to look. So I drew this almost square, call it a parallel. Well, that's not a parallelogram. That's a trapezoid. I drew another. That's just a quadrilateral at that point. At this point, I was trying to sort of get a rough estimate of what the canals were going to look like. And I didn't want it to be too rectilinear. I didn't want each one to be too square, so I left this one a bit curvy. Just to keep it looking a bit more natural. Then I realized that it looked a bit too much like a triangle, and so I was like, okay, let's try to fix that. Oh, and I hit Tiny Village, that's great. But then I thought, it would be cool if there was a little part jutting out. So I did that, and it looked a bit less rectilinear, which was nice. Occasionally I'd come back to the small village to check on things, see if there needed a bit more zoning, and so I did that a couple times. And now that townhouses were unlocked, I was like, heck, may as well zone a couple, huh? Even though I'm not sure at that moment that was the best thing to zone there. I kind of did it willy-nilly. But hey, that's okay. You can always remove them. Now here's where I actually started shaping out the canals with the roads. And it was actually working really well because I didn't have the water there to screw me up. Which I've made that mistake many a times in the past. But this time I've learned. I've grown. And I'm not going to make that mistake again. And it actually was working out really nicely. Sure, it was taking some time, but overall, like, if there was water there, it would have been disaster. It would have been disaster, I tell you. Look at that. Look how cleanly that one drew. That was perfect. There were a couple times where I had to like redraw the land a bit just to make sure the road would fit, but to make a canal system like this, you gotta expect a couple minor inconveniences. As I was drawing out the roads on these canals, I was getting more and more excited about this little area and was like thinking more and more like, what the hell am I gonna do with the zoning? Like, I had no idea how I was gonna zone this. I just kind of had an idea like it was gonna be like kind of like Amsterdam-esque, even though this city has a French name, La Cerise. I don't want to do the French thing. That's so pretentious. Let's just call it La Cerise. Even though this is kind of like a Dutch style, the whole canal thing. And also, I wanted to try other Euro things like Barcelona super blocks. So it's just going to be a culmination of Euro building techniques. And, I'm not going to limit myself to just one country or city because that would be... I don't want to limit myself like that. What's the point, right? And heck, I might even just add a couple American buildings here and there too, if the time is right. But of course, I want the theme to be Euro. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. And La Cerise means cherry, the cherry. I picked it because I liked the sound of it. There's no significance of it. Maybe if there are cherry trees in this game, I'd plant a bunch, but there aren't. There are only apple trees as far as fruits go. So, that's a bit tough. But maybe in the future there'll be an update, and that'd be really big for me. Man, these canals took a while. But they were worth it, though. Like... Trust the process. Like, when you see how the end result looks, it'll be insane. Like, I'm just cleaning up now, and then once you see how it looks when I take away that little seawall thing that I have going, it kind of goes crazy. Okay, here it is. It's happening. Check it out. What I would have done if I was smart was I would have just left the camera there on a time lapse to just show the water flooding into the canals, but I didn't do that. That's okay. I was just too excited to make sure the land was correct. Oh yeah, and then I had that freaking issue with the underground cabling. I hate when that happens. It is like the worst. Usually I'm pro respecting the topography of these maps, but sometimes you just gotta let freaking loose, There was no way I was going to be able to have my perfect canal city with an elevation like that. So I had to make some changes. And so here was an interesting part because I was trying to connect this main avenue to the canal area, but I didn't want the canal to just have like this main drag. I felt like it was too big. And it was like supposed to be like a Euro kind of like historic district. So I decided to make this cool little square where the avenue breaks up into 2 roads, and thought that would look kind of cool. Oh, and you can see the water's kind of slowly flooding in. Ah, nice. Yeah, doing a little bit more cleanup along the way. Yeah. Oh, nice. That is nice. I started filling in some of the squares and quadrilaterals and the like. And started getting really happy with it the more I did it. Although I did start putting in some row homes. And although at first I thought that was a good move, I later kind of started thinking, actually, I don't really like that. I don't know. For some reason, I had them different in my head, how it would look. I really liked this area, this little kind of square where the roads kind of diverge rather. So I decided to try to make some kind of cool, interesting plaza. And of course, I had not unlocked parks yet, so I decided to freaking do it myself. Because at a certain point, you just got to say, hey, I'm going to do the thing I want to do. Yeah, that's it. End of statement. So yeah, I decided to put every other tree like this, which took a damn while. Let me say. I've seen YouTube videos where people have this like this mod or this tool where they can draw trees in a line, which sounds really cool, which I think I might just have to install because this took so fucking long. But it was worth it. I think the end result looked pretty cool. Like I had this weird like kind of shark fin looking plaza thing. But also shout out to Imperator on YouTube. I'm kind of copying this style of plaza thing. But I thought it would look really cool here. Yeah, and I was like, wow, this looks really cool. It's really tying it together. Even though there's like nothing down here yet. That's okay. There will be things. I was furiously trying to connect the sidewalk here, but it kept giving this weird texture, so I decided to just give up and just connect it to the road like that. So at this point, I'm at Small Village, which is very exciting, and I was feeling like I kind of neglected the old town where I started everything. So I started to give it a little bit of a spruce up. And, you know, I gave some parting thoughts to the Canal district to kind of just think about what I was going to do there. Because I felt like I hadn't really developed my vision completely for that part of town. So after removing some trees from the rivers, which, you know, was a necessary step either way, and zoning a little bit more and kind of not feeling that great about it, I decided to take a break from that area and check out on the old town. I decided to invest in a cemetery because, well, the dead people got to go somewhere, huh? At this point, I was really decided I wanted to go ham with the main kind of town up on the hill. Because I thought, you know, I this is like the starter place, right? This is kind of where I like put like the starter houses to get going. And I didn't want to give up on this area. I wanted to make this area cute, and I felt like it really had potential. So I decided to really kind of invest in it time-wise. So I started looking at the cemetery and decided that's kind of ugly. So I removed the roads around it and decided, we'll get back to it later. So it was looking a little bit empty in this kind of town on the hill. And so I wanted to try to make sure houses could go where there were weird zoning clippings, but then also that they had access to nature. So I decided to put that nice little grassy tree-filled median on Florence Street, which is very aptly named, actually. Well, in a French town, but, whatever. I feel like it's Euro. It's Euro coded, so that's okay. I tried putting some paths down and then realized quickly that you cannot put them on the road with the crosswalk because that will lead to pain, as in it will mess up all your zoning. So I decided to be very careful from that point on to not make too many crosswalks, or any for that matter, because God, the zoning is very, very delicate. So I decided to plop a bunch of trees. I really, really honed in on this one block for some reason. I guess I was just feeling inspired by the weird geometry of it. But I kind of thought the stores out front were really cute, those ones with the bushes, and decided to kind of replicate that throughout the block. And then I started transferring the love to the next block over, making sure the zoning was a bit more compact, which I think looks a bit nicer. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta detail and just really just get in there. I put more paths going in the middle of these weird blocks and thought if I put some trees in the middle, it would look more complete. And I think that was the right move. With a few exceptions of some houses just giving up on me, I felt like adding these trees and paths really added to the neighborhood. And sure, maybe the people living in the city won't quite notice it, or maybe they will, but I notice it. And maybe that's what's most important. Maybe that's what's most important. After a while, I realized I was getting a bit too into it and was like, does this make sense? Like, would it make sense for like this like small block of houses to have this like crazy geometric like landscaping? And maybe no. But I decided, heck, it looks good, may as well do it. And I kind of abandoned a sense of realism when I made that crazy canal district, then gave up on it for a while anyways. But don't worry, I'm not giving up completely on it. No siree. I'm just gonna come back to it with a fresh mind, because that's what I need to do. And also partially because I wanted to wait for mixed use housing, which I thought would look a lot better there than the row housing. I expanded another block, tried to satisfy a bit of demand for medium density residential. And I kind of felt closer to the factories made a bit more sense for row houses. But then I was also thinking, well, maybe in the town square there should be a couple row houses too. Kind of doesn't make sense for them to be only like single family homes up there. So I moved some things around. I wasn't afraid to play a bit of whack-a-mole, which you just sometimes gotta do in this game. Sometimes you just gotta look at something and be like, that's ugly. At this point, I decided to demolish a couple buildings and leave room for a square. And of course, I plopped a medical building. And I was kind of very unsure about what I wanted to do with it, because everywhere I put it, I felt like it kind of just looked bad. I felt like it didn't really make sense, like right there on Main Street. And so I ended up just moving it just back a bit. And I felt like that looked a bit better. And I felt like stores made a bit more sense up there. But yeah, I still hadn't unlocked parks yet because I was still somehow a small village. Despite all my work. I guess it's just because I didn't really plot much stuff yet. But I decided to leave that square for a plaza when I unlocked it. And thought it'd be a really nice kind of town square for the people to see each other and to hang out. Because it's right in the middle of town, and well, heck, that's what being a Euro city is all about, right? think. I don't know. I grew up in Los Angeles, so I wouldn't know. But yeah. And I decided it'd be good to have a little neighborhood coming off of it too, just so that people can really access this kind of public area. So I put some townhomes on this little street going off of it, just to give it that extra oomph. And there I go again with the detailing. Oh, and I noticed that the leaves started turning red on all the bushes, and so it must have been fall, and it was. This kind of bush alignment I thought was a bit strange when I did it, but I decided, heck, let's just keep it. I spent all that time on it. I finally placed down the school and unlocked Large Village. And I was very excited about the implications of that and what I could unlock. Still not parks, somehow. I don't know why that takes so long to unlock. Like, I feel like a really small town could have a park. Maybe that's just me. But anyways, an elementary school was definitely much needed as well. So I plopped that down. And I wanted it to be a bit more central, but I decided this location would be okay. I kind of don't like how the elementary school looks. It looks so American. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I kind of wish that some of the assets in this game, like the schools, there was a choice for like American versus European and not just the zonable areas and assets. But, can't win them all. I saw there was some weird land height differences in this one block, so I decided to use a cut and fill path to try to ameliorate that. And I felt like it looked okay, although I didn't like how it looked like kind of brown around the edges, so I tried to clean up the edges as much as I could, and it kind of drove me a bit crazy for a second. And for a second, I mean like 5-10 minutes. As you can see me coming back and looking and trying to fix it. Then I decided it just needed some trees, and I moved on. Because sometimes you just gotta move on. Sometimes you just gotta move on. And so I drew out some dirt roads and got to building this sweet little animal farm, livestock farm, whatever you want to call it. And sure, there wasn't any fertile land over here, even though I felt like it made way more sense for there to be fertile land here because of the river. But, oh well. And I decided I wanted a farm here anyway, so I put it. Because, animal farms don't need fertile land, so thank God. I plopped some trees around it and made it a bit cute, and was like, okay, that's enough. That's enough industry for everybody. I added a crematorium so that the dead people could go somewhere else even. I plopped the fire station there, and then quickly decided I didn't really like that location for it, and found this like kind of awkward block where nothing could really zone, and thought, hey, wait a minute, this would be perfect for the fire station. So after a second, I went back to the previous location and was like, you know what, this has got to change. And I think the end results turned out a lot nicer for the fire station. And you can tell by my detailing that I really felt affirmed by the new location of the fire station and thought it fit just so much nicer. More detailing, because you can never get enough detailing, right? I really liked how this path kind of converged into the side of this building, so I kind of left it like that. More bushes, more trees galore. I went literally insane with all this detailing. I never do this much detailing. I decided to densify a bit along the main avenue because I thought it would just make sense. I saw I could put down a fire watch tower and decided that was a really cool spot for it, even though I'd already put things there. So I plopped it down and realized I didn't need a road access for it, so I just kind of paved some paths around it. I first tried a full circle, but then I thought that looked kind of weird. So I ended up with that and thought it looked really cute. Gave a little bit of verticality to this kind of small town area. And thought a nice little water tower could also be just the thing to make this area feel a bit more complete. And so I put it right next to the farm, which just makes sense, I feel. I decided to connect up the industrial area right up to the highway because I felt like to make them go right through this kind of residential core didn't really make sense. I was starting to feel really happy with how things were looking. And I went even harder with the landscaping because of it. More bushes, more trees, galore. Galore. I plopped some more businesses too because the people were desperate for it. Then I decided I wanted to put some more windmills down because, well, the power situation was getting a bit dire. Oh, there we go. I finally unlocked Grand Village and was like, first thing, I was going to put down that damn park. I tried to put it in the center as much as possible, moved some roads to figure it out, and decided to do some major landscaping because this was going to be the center of town. This was going to be the magnum opus for this tiny little village. So, well, Grand Village now. So I put trees in every corner, and put some bushes on the side, and really went ham. And I thought it just looked really cute. And it really made me happy to see all these people walking around on the pedestrian streets on the side. And so, with that, I thought I would end things off with some nice cinematics. Enjoy.